one knows how long this war will go on.
Can I ask you about your own country, the United States? I mean, when you built Microsoft, it was a period of incredible American confidence and expansion, to which indeed your industry and your company contributed. It's been a tougher period, I guess, in the last few years, a huge amount of division in the United States. How confident are you about the future of the United States?
Well, the portion of the world's innovation that comes out of the United States is still extremely high. And if you look at, okay, where's the best AI work being done, the best cancer work, the best, name a field, agricultural innovation. The U.S. has this unique advantage that it draws in talented people from all over the world. Our government policies aren't always as welcoming of our key asset as it should be, but there's really no other country that takes the best people from South America, the best people from Europe, the best people from Asia, and brings them together into both government-funded, philanthropic-funded, and private sector-funded innovation. And so the role of the U.S., whether it's climate technologies or curing cancer, curing obesity, whatever, I'd say is as strong today. There's no country that is going to take that position. It's not like all the smart people in the world are saying, hey, let's all go to China and hang out. China is a very innovative country, very important, arguably the number 2 innovator, but the distance is unbelievable. It's not a global collective of the risk-taking and innovation that we need for key problems. So the U.S. is politically weaker today, I would say, than it's been. And, that's scary for the world. The current world system is designed around U.S. leadership. And as other countries have gotten richer, these middle-income countries, including China and India, need to play a stronger role in world governance. And how the U.S. cedes the kind of unique role we've had and makes that all work, particularly given our political polarization, there's a lot to worry about there. Can the world count on the U.S. to stay a member of the WHO during a pandemic? Pretty basic. Are you playing the role that is beneficial to the U.S. but beneficial to the whole globe? Not as clear that we'll always do that as I would have said it was 10 years ago.
And what explains that polarization? What explains the breaking of the politics to a point where a great country like the United States that created the international system would threaten to withdraw from the WHO during the pandemic? What's the reason for it?
Well, there's a lot of books you could read and still not understand it. I don't fully understand it, and I'm a student of the issue. The way that we select politicians, the way that news brings you the bad news and not the good news. I mean, trust in institutions, and this is a global phenomenon, but most acute in the United States. Trust in institutions during the last 20 years has been going down. Trust in, military, judiciary, corporations, politicians. You have in the U.S. where you say, do you like your politicians? It's 7%. Well, we're a democracy. We picked those politicians. And, in China, you say, do you like your politicians? And 80% say yes. Well, they didn't pick those politicians, so it's not supposed to work that way. So do the people who run for political office play a role of gathering around experts and taking a long-term view, which isn't, or is politics now more organized around the things that separate us? You're always going to have populists elected. You're going to go through a cycle where the elites are viewed as having had too much control and looking down on the rest of the population. That's okay. We have a particularly dangerous form of populism right now where its connection to the kind of complex decisions that need to be made in the U.S. healthcare system or even political reform are a bit concerning. Now, you always have old people like me who look and say, oh, God, this time it's really getting screwed up. And the answer to that is there's young people who, have a fresh look at this thing. And there are a set of problems like misinformation and political polarization. I'm dying to help get behind some young person who has approaches to it that I haven't come up with.
You mentioned the role of news, and of course one big difference between now and when you were building Microsoft is social media. How worried are you by developments at Twitter and in general the potential of social media to drive polarisation and division and crazy ideas and conspiracy theories?
Well, the digital availability of information should be a positive thing for democracy. I can go and read any bill in the Congress. I can go look at who voted how on that bill. I can go and look at the Medicare budget and see, okay, when is it going to go bankrupt? And okay, what are the various ideas about fixing that? So the free availability of information, naively, certainly within the IT industry, people like myself who got a chance to be part of creating these things, we thought it would be a net plus for democracy. And that is still there. That access to information is incredibly beneficial. The fact that that's been taken where you can kind of just find people who believe QAnon and sit there all day long and be told how right you are and not pulled out of that, that is definitely one of the 4 or 5 problems I put into the next generation must figure this one out bucket.
All right.
The pandemic has radically changed the world as we know it, and the actions we take today as we work to recover will define our generation.
Now is the time to think what history would say about this crisis.
2020 has been challenging on a lot of levels, as economic, environmental, and societal frailties have been laid bare. But it's also proved that when we need to, we can act rapidly and restructure our lives.
The recovery from the pandemic is an opportunity. We can see rays of hope in the form of a vaccine, but there is no vaccine for the planet. Nature needs a bailout.
You don't want to go back to the status quo that you had before simply because it was the status quo that got us here.
With everything falling apart, we can reshape the world in ways we couldn't before. Ways that better address so many of the challenges we face. And that's why so many are calling for a great reset. A great reset? That sounds more like buzzword bingo masking some nefarious plan for world domination. Hands up, this kind of slogan hasn't gone down well. But all we really want to say is that we all have an opportunity to build a better world. And it's not surprising that people who've been disenfranchised by a broken system and pushed even further by the pandemic will suspect global leaders of conspiracy. But the world's not that simple. Every one of us has differing priorities, values, and ideas. That's part of why solutions are so hard to come by, and why we all need to be involved in the decision-making. Because whether it's politicians, CEOs, academics, activists, or you, we're all about getting people together, even those you may not like, to sit down at the table and develop solutions that work for all of us. But
we need enormous trust between the private sector and the public sector for this to actually work. That trust is hard to come by.
it's time for people to work together, listen to each other, and build this trust so we can move towards a better world. And we really need one. Because while the pandemic affects us all, it's clear it affects some more than others.
The first people who are hit are the people at the front, those who are vulnerable. It is those on the front line who take it first, and that is simply unacceptable.
See, at the start of 2020, 1% of the world's population owned 44% of the wealth. And since the start of the pandemic, billionaires have increased theirs by more than 25%, whilst 150 million people fell back into extreme poverty. And with climate change set to dwarf the damage caused by the pandemic, the message from 2020 should be abundantly clear.
Capitalism, as we know it, is dead. This obsession that we have had with maximizing profits for shareholders alone has led to incredible inequality and a planetary emergency.
But no one can do this alone, and top-down approaches won't get us anywhere. Because everything we've learned in our work has shown us that diverse voices lead to better results. And it's for these reasons that the Forum talks about something called stakeholder capitalism, which would shift businesses away from just profit. Because
if we want to change where the focus of our recovery will go, then we need a new dashboard for the new economy. And that needs to encompass people, planet, prosperity, and institutions.
giving people a real stake in the economy and putting well-being before growth. And that's all about getting the right people in the right place at the right time.
We must rebuild our relationship with nature for the survival of the peoples and our planet.
We have a window of time which is closing, and we need everybody who cares to get together and find solutions now.
It's the people who have great ideas and who share them with others. They're the ones who are shaping the future. So if you want to be a part of the change, then tune in, turn on, and get involved. Follow the Davos Agenda, right here, online, on YouTube.